Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Institute for Personal Development, where total consciousness is the new frontier. Kriya Yoga is the union of the individual with the divine. Join us as we explore the practices that initiate this process.
Well, good morning and welcome to the Voice of Yoga. Let's Talk Consciousness. I am your hostess, Lisa Winton, and with me is Kenny Toy, also known as Swami Jayananda, founder of Institute for Personal Development, located here in Hampton, New Hampshire. Good morning, Swami. Thank you for being here today. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing very well today. And how about you?
I'm doing great on this moon day, this Labor Day, and happy Labor Day to everybody out there. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Today on The Voice of Yoga, we will be talking about healing and how we're going about using Kriya Yoga to help me recover from a bicycle accident. We will talk about the importance of prevention of accidents, but when accidents happen, there are things to do. We will discuss the experience of using Western medical services in conjunction with Kriya Yoga beliefs. We will share some of our experiences and challenges of melding different approaches to healing. There doesn't seem to be any one way to approach the goal that doesn't have some ramifications. There may be a better way to get the best of both strategies. One thing to remember is there are no two cases that are exact, and there has to be plenty of room for adjustments. So, Swami, give us a take on how to use Kriya Yoga for healing.
Well, the first thing I really like to say about that is that the term healing in Kriya Yoga really is more about becoming a whole person than just fixing symptoms in our physical bodies. That the origins of the word heal means to be whole. And of course, this union of the individual with the divine produces this process called apotheosis, where matter and mind come together with new information. And your whole sense of self starts to realign itself with the part of yourself that is eternal. I think it's a very different thing than the Western medical model, which seems really more preoccupied with symptoms of the physical body. Because in Kriya Yoga, we really do the integration of the body, the mind, and the spirit. So in that respect, you have to realize that if you have different goals and objectives, and you have different strategies that you employ, that you're not measuring apples to apples when you're trying to compare things.
Well, I want to ask you about accidents. And I know we've talked about before in radio shows that everything that happens in our world, we bring it upon ourselves. We ask for it. So let's take the bicycle accident that happened over a week ago. So in some way, shape, or form, I created this experience for us to have. Now, how can we dissect that experience and try to figure out what is the meaning and purpose behind that? Was it so that we could employ the Kriya Yoga strategies to the healing process? Or, I mean, I guess it's hard to see in my limited perspective. You know, I need to have this broader picture, look down on the event so I can kind of see how it affects everybody and everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff is really complex answers. But to try and look at it, I think one of the things that I thought was really interesting is that when it happened on August 26th, which Mars was squaring the eclipse that we had on 11/3/2013, and then, of course, going back to all of the dates, which if anybody is interested, I did post them on the website. If you go to the bulletin page, I think I give you directions in how to get there. I just put the posts on a post that we had already done, which was for August 22nd of this year. But all of the dates are there, and one of the things that I really like to do is I like to go to my journal and look at what are some of the events, what are the dreams that I was having at this time. Because like you say, there are no accidents. We're ordering everything in our lives. Now, whether we do it consciously, unconsciously, or karmically, those are things that we're not oftentimes completely clear about. And so as a result, it is a process of integration. But if you can start to examine your life in a way, and you start to look for certain themes and what things mean to me, because a lot of times, any accident that we have oftentimes is a direct result of some sort of repressed anger, that we are not expressing this Mars energy. And so one of the things that we always say is to use your practice so that you know what you want and you know how to ask for what you want, so that you don't produce any kind of frustration or the possibility of this coming back at you on some level.
What I find interesting is that I don't have a recollection of prior to the accident. I don't remember how the accident happened, and it wasn't until the day later when I was aware that I was in the hospital. So I think that in itself is very interesting, the fact that there's no recollection. So I wonder if that's also a sign that I should look at, look further and deeper into it, because maybe there's something else I'm not recalling.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the whole thing of the practices, things that are outside my field of awareness. And the whole concept of when we do feel like things are happening to us, as opposed to we are consciously creating our reality. And that's all part of your process of integration and assimilating information. But again, the more proactive you are with that, it's kind of like what we talked last week, your path of knowledge. And one of the things that is really valuable for your path of knowledge is to keep a journal, to keep a daily record of what's going on in your life, so that you can go back 2 years from today and you can look, and one of the things we always say is the oldest ink is better than the best memory, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to find themes, to try and figure out what is the meaning and purpose behind something like this. But like you said in the beginning, the whole thing of you find yourself in a hospital, and here you are, you have Kriya Yoga beliefs, and you're in a Western medical arena. And how do you integrate your beliefs with their beliefs? Because the first order of business is that you start to see that there's conflicts. There are things that they are really comfortable with that actually make you uncomfortable. And you're in their court. So how do you get your beliefs to be recognized by them? And I think a big part of that is communication. And to be able to talk to them, to ask them questions, because I don't really think that they understand that a lot of what they're doing has ramifications for somebody who does go in there with beliefs like we have. And so to be able to do that without being insulting, without being confrontational, to be able to communicate your beliefs in a way that they are received and respected requires, I think, a certain degree of communication skill, I think, is really helpful to develop.
Well, I know we had a situation where let's just say drugs were involved, and I was told, I had to eat, I had to drink. If I wanted to go home, I had to, make sure I employed these two strategies. Well, it's hard to do those two strategies when the drugs that they intravenously put through you are making you feel like you don't want to eat. They kind of make you a little bit nauseous and kind of loopy and things like that. So, and it's just so interesting that when you go through the ER and they see, a trauma victim, they're on. They know they have a certain protocol in place and they've got their procedures, and you respect that because they're knowledgeable and they have the experience. But at the same time, it's like after the fact, it's the recovering process that, there I think could have been a little bit more communication involved with the drugs and things like that, and for somebody like me who doesn't employ drugs, to be able to get that through my system has really been kind of a trying experience.
Yeah, and that was a big part of, I thought, my challenge was in the hospital was to try and be able to be your voice for you. And that part is, it's really interesting because I think we've talked about this. You try and create a parallel scenario, like what would it have looked like had we not got into an ambulance and just went right home? Because part of the risk of something like that happening is that what if there is some sort of internal bleeding? There are things that are going on that are not visible that could be very detrimental to your well-being. Now, of course, I think once you succumb to their techniques or their procedures and stuff, that you have to try and, you've got to open up your band of allowance. And you kind of agree to going through this, because I think it was important to have that CAT scan, to have somebody look and see, is there anything going on? But then after that, once I think they had a pretty good handle that there wasn't anything really serious going on, that maybe then they could have started to let go of the ropes a little bit quicker. And that was where I think we had some difficulty. But again, they're in the position where they have a lot of accountability. There's a lot of liability that's involved with them. So you kind of have to go with it a little bit. And then once you can start to get yourself completely off of any of those invasive types of procedures, anything like intravenous or whatever, because in the Kriya Yoga model, food is your medicine. So your body is accustomed to manufacturing what it needs based on the resources that you're giving it. Now, once you start to inject things into the body, then those processes immediately shut down. So a big part of that is to be able to try and get things started up as quickly as possible.
I have some other questions for you, but I think what we'll do is I'm going to hold those for a moment while we hear a word from our sponsors. So, listeners, we will return with you shortly.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate.
If you are looking for a Samadhi-based experience, IPD Kriya Yoga has the goods. A complete yoga program that includes the practices and the process. Kriya Yoga Series 1 live classes and videos. Get your arms around the spiritual science of Kriya Yoga.
The intention of why we practice is to embody spirit, to feel connected to the life force.
Kriya Yoga Asana live classes and videos. A cosmically engineered system of exercises to initiate apotheosis. A system of exercises engineered for dining and dancing at the Cosmic Ballroom. Kriya Yoga Series 2 live classes and videos. A practice in open form designed to facilitate positive growth of consciousness. Get your Labyrinth video.
I find the positive side of it is it pulls a lot of things together.
Kriya Yoga Mantra and Meditation. With repetition comes absorption. Pray on prana and become divine.
At the same time, we all have a unique talent and gift to give back to the universe.
Private sessions. The mysteries of the universe have always been handed down verbally from teacher to student. Call or click now and get started. 603-929-0303 or www.ipdtransform.com. Namaste.
Purnamariya Purnameva Vashishate.
And welcome back. For those of you just joining us, you're listening to The Voice of Yoga, and we are talking consciousness. So, Swami, a few years ago, I had taken a Qigong massage class from Dr. Yang Ming in Boston. And he, of course, grew up in China and had studied years in the Tai Chi field and so on and so forth. And he said something that was really interesting and it stuck with me. And he said, Western medicine, what they do very, very well is they're able to detect and determine what is wrong with somebody. They're very good at diagnosing. Where the Eastern philosophy is we learn the person, all of the person, and then we determine from there how we heal that person. And if just the East could meet West, and they can bring what's great about both of those philosophies together, then our medical world would be unstoppable. What do you think about that?
Well, I would agree with that totally. And in fact, in a lot of respects, I kind of feel like that's what we did using our Kriya Yoga practice and beliefs in conjunction with the Western medical model. And maybe if they had a better understanding of what we did and maybe were more willing to participate with our recommendations quicker, things might have been much smoother in that event. But I definitely think that, like you say, I mean, I would not have been comfortable just taking you home and cleaning you up and putting an ice pack on your head based on just the physical appearance of that particular accident. So to succumb to some of the Western procedures, kind of gives you a better sense of confidence about what you're doing. But then again, trying to turn the responsibility back onto you, because I really thought that some of it was just a little too invasive for me. And then, of course, to be able to just continue in, say, for example, like the way that we have been. One of the things I thought was really different comparison was when we brought you to therapeutic massage up in Dover with Ron Boucher. And, just how less invasive his procedures are, that he's working more with the rhythms and cycles of your body, and he's putting you back together in ways that are not invasive. And so in a lot of respects, but he, by the same token, when we asked him, like, if you fall off your bike, should I come right here? He said, no, go to the hospital. I'll take you after, we know that there's nothing really going on. So in respects, I really think we did the right thing. And based on just the improvements that you've made in this past week and a half, I'm really confident in what we've done.
Yeah, me too. And thanks again to Ron to help putting my body back in alignment, because it's a big difference. When your pelvis is in alignment, the rest of you seems to kind of fall into place. But, you were talking about healing and being a body worker for a long time, being a Reiki practitioner and Reiki teacher, and then, of course, massage therapist. We're always taught there are three major parts of the person that could use some healing, and that is the mental body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, and the physical body. So I think when you are rushed to the hospital, the body that they're concerned with is the physical body. They see a body that's broken, it's got bumps and bruises and whatever, and they try to figure out physically what's wrong with it. And in the Eastern philosophy, they understand there's all these other bodies that are concerned, and then we need to help heal those as well. So when I'm laying there, when I was laying there in the hospital bed, I'm looking at my mind, I'm looking at my emotional state, my mental state, and how can I be better at those? How can I feel better at those so it helps my physical body? Because it's all a piece of the pie. You can't have one without the other.
Well, exactly. Working with your mind on a regular basis, and basically, in the Kriya Yoga model, we only use three bodies. You got a physical body, which does house your emotions, your feelings. The physical body has the power, and the body responds to symbols. It's all association. So the mind, in that respect, is giving the body vision, and then the body responds to that. So a big part of your yoga practice, and one of the reasons why we use tools like the labyrinth, is that you can constantly examine your mind, your world of imagery. And in a yoga practice, or a Kriya Yoga practice anyway, it's constantly rewiring your panel so that you have the association between a particular symbol that will produce a particular feeling, so that eventually you can pretty much control your feelings by controlling your thoughts. And that's a really powerful position to earn. But if you're not doing that on a regular basis, because it reminds me of gardening, that people have beautiful gardens. They didn't just dig up the soil, plant some seeds, water them, and walk away. That once you have done all of that preparatory work, then you have to continue to nurture all of the things that you have planted. And at the same time, you have to patrol that soil, because things will start to grow in there that you didn't plant. And the same is true with the mind-body complex. We're constantly being bombarded with thoughts. And so it's very easy for the weeds to get in. And if you're not diligent and you're not consistent with your practice, and using a tool like the labyrinth, because we're thinking on many different levels. And to be able to examine all of the facets of your mind is an important thing. Because, again, the average person is preoccupied with only a couple of departments of their lives, and then the rest of it goes neglected or unconscious. And that's when things are susceptible to influences.
You know, you're absolutely right. And then not once during the recovery process, whether at the hospital or here at home, did I ever have that poor me type of syndrome. Why did this happen to me? Boo-hoo. You know, it was like, okay, this is what I got to do. And, for example, like on Thursday, the occupational therapist was to come down. I was supposed to go for a walk. And I was like, okay, I can do this. It wasn't like, oh, boy, I have to get out of bed and I got to start walking with this head injury. It was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it by myself, right? And I'll be gosh darn, that's exactly what happened. They came in, and I got out of bed, and I'm like, don't even help me. I can do this. I can do it. I walked up and down the hallway, and everything was fine. It was just having this sense of that I can do anything. That was my belief. And I'm a very visual person. We talk about this in Theory 2 class, that the power of visualization, if you utilize it, it can help you. But my first belief was, you know what? I'm good enough. I am that good enough that I have the power that I can make this happen. You know, I'm going to get out of this hospital by the weekend. That was my goal. I'm getting out. I'm getting out of here. And what do I have to do to get there? And it's that sense of that determination and the fact that I'm good enough, I can make this happen. And that's exactly what happened. I wanted to be out by Saturday, and I was out on Saturday. But it's all this visualization. It's all this, I can make this happen. First of all, I have to get the drugs out of my body. I got to be able to move. I got to be able to eat and drink. I got to get those things that are most important to our daily living, get those in place, and then the rest of it is going to be a cakewalk. But I think what you say is believing that you're good enough can help heal all parts of your bodies, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, whatever. It's that belief and that visualization of using the universe and what you really do need to help you get through whatever it is you're getting through, whether it's an emotional issue, whether it's a physical issue, whatever. But visualizing yourself the way you want to be.
Oh, absolutely. And that has been proven by science that thought is an energy capable of producing effects, but it's all measurable based on the amount of strength we emit it with. And when you are using what you really do need as a symbol to produce the feeling in your body that you're good enough, then as long as you have what you need, then you believe you're good enough. Then all you have to do is emit thoughts and ask for what you want in the language the universe understands.
Wow, it's that time already. We have to start closing down our show for today. So in closing, I'd like to invite our listeners to please visit us on our website. You can follow Swami on Pinterest and Twitter and Facebook, of course. And don't forget the online classes that are available through our website. But do keep those questions and curiosities coming because Swami does enjoy hearing from you. Be sure to tune in next week. I believe we're going to discuss the solar eclipse that's going to be in Virgo next week, so that's going to be a very interesting program. So, Swami, any final thoughts before we close down?
Well, I would like to thank everybody for listening to the show, and next week we will be continue to talk about health. And now we'll add a little work and service into that with this eclipse in Virgo. And with that, I'll wish everybody a good day. Namaste.
I would like to take a few minutes to thank the listeners out there for your thoughts and prayers and your visitations and the beautiful flowers. And thank you to all the wonderful nurses at Portsmouth Regional Hospital. They were just absolutely fabulous. And thank you for listening to our program, The Voice of Yoga. This is Lisa Winton, along with Swami Jayananda, signing off. Have a wonderful Kriya Yoga kind of day. Namaste.